going live. We're in YouTube Live now for to see, and then the phone for talking. Does that work for you? I could try. Let me see if I can open Zoom. I'll try. I don't know if Ephraim did it or not. Because we didn't call him today.
You all set? Okay.
You're connected on YouTube Live? Because Zoom is not opening. That means that we would have to call Ephraim to get it open. I could call him on my phone, maybe. You don't see me on YouTube Live? My name, Yiska Levinson? Okay, we're good. So the phone is for talking, and the YouTube Live is for looking.
Okay, Carla, do you have your Code of Jewish Law, Volume 1? We have a 15-minute lesson. This gives us the opportunity, little by little, to cover Jewish law. So we're on page 3, Volume 1. Well, that's in English.
I might not be able to do it. You can start, and because I took some of the back because I just thought I was going.
Oh yeah, you're still unpacking. Sure. Okay, so it's just a few minutes. Yeah. Actually, I use my own translation basically anyway in summarization, so it wouldn't match exactly. You know, the ideas will match, but the exact word for word will not match. Okay, so we were studying chapter 1 of the Code of Jewish Law, and it starts with the laws of getting up in the morning. We mentioned last week and many times in the different lessons, which I've been invited to participate in represent these lessons too, that the Torah guides us because God loves us so much. It guides us from before birth, throughout a lifetime, and after one has left the world. So this is because of the love of the Almighty. And if it seems, and I mention this from time to time with various classes, if it seems that the Torah seems to leave nothing excluded from some kind of a law or some sort of a guidance, that shows us how much the Almighty loves us. Now, there's a beautiful example of this with regard that it's a Torah example, it's not my example. You don't have to suffer through one of my examples. It's a beautiful example of this with regard to parents and their first child. It really applies to all the children, but especially with first child when they're learning to be parents, they're so worried and so scared. You probably remember this too, and myself also being a new father. You're so worried about every tiny fetch, every tiny whimper. You make sure that anything that's going to go into their mouth and their tummy is absolutely pure and clean and healthy, and the various bottles, utensils, spoons, whatever you're using, etc., etc. You're extremely careful. Then the child gets a little bit older, you're very concerned about who they're going to talk to, who they're going to play with, and the sanitation, wherever you may happen to be.
You need to reach, your voice has to reach that white dot on the top.
And so that's an example of how much the Almighty loves us so much that He wants us to live the best life possible, the purest life possible, and that is an example, that a emotional parable It helps us understand why the laws of Judaism are so extensive. It's totally out of love, tremendous love for us. And as we learn these things, each law, sometimes you come across a law that might go against your grain. Everybody, this applies to wherever you are. It's something we're not used to or we don't understand. It's always important to keep in the back of our mind that this is out of the love of the Almighty, and it's only definitely for our good. Only for our good, for sure. That's all. No question about it. So I'm just going to orally review a little bit of what we did last time, in which it was the first statement was Shivisi Hashem Lanekdish Hamid, in which this is a verse from the Psalms. The person says, each person says, I've always placed the Almighty opposite me. Look upon myself as I'm constantly being monitored and watched. And again, what I just said before is so pertinent. You're not being watched to catch you do something wrong. You're being watched because the Almighty wants you to make sure you don't hurt yourself. All these things that we say about a child apply to us too. Adults also can be careless at times, etc., stumble and hurt themselves as well. Not just a little child stumble in with the mouth, stumble with the feet, whatever it may happen to be. So that's the tone that we're starting off all these laws with, a tone of love and a tone of great respect. In that first paragraph, it was brought out that how we behave so differently, talk differently, walk differently, even our expression on the face is different when we are in the privacy of our own home and not under any kind of surveillance, so to speak. And when you go to see someone extremely important, even if you go to the doctor, you go to some professional, you go to a lecture where there's a very great professor speaking, and you have the opportunity to ask questions, and other people are there too, and to make comments on the speech, or you want some advice. Maybe you want some advice from a person who is a great expert in a certain field. Or sometimes you have to go into a governmental office, you meet with an official from the government. I've had the occasion to actually be present when the governor of the state, I've lived in a few states already, the governor of the state was speaking. So you really are very careful about your demeanor. I think it was the lying in state for President Reagan, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they had this in the rotunda, in the Capitol building. And this is, of course, to show tremendous respect for a president of the United States who passed away. He had 2 terms, and actually he was a very celebrated president. He was a very appreciated president. But that's actually not the point. They had the Congress all standing at attention, in the hall, in that hall, a large hall. And in the course of the ceremony, so a couple of the congressmen started motioning to each other and whispering to each other. It looked terrible. It looked absolutely terrible. And here, everyone is standing at attention, showing great respect, for the period of time that this is supposed to go on. And they're gesturing to each other and talking to each other. The Talmud actually mentions this, that if this took place, if this type of thing took place in front of, ancient times, in old times, a king or an emperor, they would be put to death for showing such respect. Now, they didn't make noise and they didn't disturb others, but they did not show proper respect for the king and the king's presence. And here, of course, this is on television. You have 150 million people watching it. That's not necessarily an exaggeration. I didn't just throw that figure out, but something of this nature would be watched throughout the country. So the first paragraph of the Code of Jewish Law is telling us we're always being watched by the Almighty, the King of the universe. And of course we have to relax in his presence too, and of course he understands that. At the same time, respect for him, respect for the life that he's given us, and we have to watch what we say and what we do and how we behave. So interestingly enough, if we go to see a doctor, we go to see be at a concert go to, which you, again, supposedly these things will resume. You're going to hear a lecture. Once again, these things should resume, hopefully now. You dress properly, you walk properly, you stand properly, you talk properly, etc., in a respectful manner. At home, you're going to relax. You want to lie down. Maybe you want to watch TV for a while, read for a while, whatever it may happen to be. So, of course, when you're relaxing, you're in front of the Almighty too. He doesn't want you to be tense and tense. You wouldn't be able to live. And before you went to that concert, before you went to that lecture, whatever it may happen to be, you also were relaxing at home. So, what is the Code of Jewish Law trying to tell you? It's trying to tell you, even when you're relaxing, when you go to sleep, and even your conduct in the bathroom, and how you dress, etc., since we're always in the presence of the Almighty, there are certain guidelines. Yes, you're supposed to relax, of course, and you have to be relaxed. In fact, at all times, you have to be relaxed. You can't serve the Creator if you're tense and very, very constantly a state of worry. Am I doing this right? Am I doing that? Etc. We don't mean that. And we do mean not the opposite. To feel that anything goes, to feel like you can say anything, you can do anything, etc. You have to have the self-control. So I'm going to start now the second paragraph to bring out that even when you're lying down on your bed, you still should know in front of whom you are lying. This is probably a very difficult thing to do, because certainly when you're tired and you want to lie down to bed, you're not thinking that the Almighty is watching you then too. He's watching us lovingly. He's watching us lovingly. And he's seeing how we behave, even when we're lying down. As soon as one wakes up from sleep, one should remember the kindness of God. May his name be blessed. As soon as you wake up, we take for granted that we're going to wake up the next morning. We'll sleep, we're tired. Hopefully we'll say the Shema Yisrael. We'll talk about that at some point also. The Shema before bed, by the way, is to protect us. There's a Shema in the morning. We declare the unity of God. The Shema in the evening by dark. That's once again to declare the unity of God morning and evening. So you've really covered the demands of that commandment. The commandment says, when you lie down and when you get up, you're supposed to declare God's unity, bearing it in mind, of course, all day. And if you're up during the night, bearing it in mind. It's always in the back of your mind. Why a third time? Why do we say the Shema yet another time before we go to sleep? It's for a very different reason. We've already fulfilled the commandment to say and declare God's unity morning and evening. We did it already. Why say it again? A very beautiful reason. We're asking the Almighty to watch over us. And there we are, depositing our soul with Him. We go to sleep, our soul,
Shalom,
the small amount that's left in the body. That's why we're sort of like close
we
to
started the
unconscious.
class on the conference center.
Breathing,
It's short.
the heartbeat
because it's
slows
on
down.
Halachah.
Hopefully the breathing
if you
slows
wanna
down
join.
too when it's healthy.
Yeah.
And the main holiness of the soul goes up to report to the Almighty what we've done that day. And of course, the soul has been worn out with all the day's trials and tribulations. And we may have messed up a little bit, so we dirtied up our soul somewhat as well. The Almighty sends it back to us clean and refreshed. The fact that He sends it back to us is a tremendous thing. Unfortunately, there's many cases where a person went to sleep and to shock people. I'm talking about a younger person too. A younger person, a child, teenager, a sports, what do you call it? One of these sports athletes who their body is in tip-top physical shape. All kinds of things can happen. And when the Almighty returns our soul to us, first thing we do is to thank Him that we woke up. Very good thing. One of my friends always used to say, "How are you?" He says, "Thank God I got up." Thank God I got up this morning. There was another friend who said something I didn't like, but it sort of brings out the same point. A friend would say, "Thank God I'm on this side of the ground." That's how he put it. I'm on this side of the ground, the sunny side. So, however you put it, we are very grateful to the Almighty. It has showed His kindness to us, our soul, that we had deposited with Him exhausted. He gives it back to us, renewed, rested, refreshed, so that we can have another day of serving Him and working hard and honestly at your job, eating a kosher meal, even a ball game, or whatever you may happen to enjoy, go to a museum, whatever it may happen to be, all of these things can be serving the Almighty. Well, the 613 commandments, isn't it? Going to a museum one of the 613 commandments? Of course not. But if you enjoy yourself, it stimulates your mind, you enjoy the artwork, for instance. One of the Lubavitcher Rebbeim, I'm probably going to talk about this at some point with one of my lessons. One of the Lubavitcher Rebbes was the fifth one. He did something that many rabbis would never do, and certainly not a Rebbe, a leader of the entire Hasidic Lubavitch Chabad Hasidic movement. He used to go to a museum to look at great paintings, and he actually reported what he saw. And one of these days, when it's appropriate, I'll explain and show how an artwork, a piece of art, looking at a piece of artwork, can be serving the Almighty. It inspires you, and you see what the artist is trying to say. This can inspire you to serve the Almighty. Okay, I'm going to go on a little bit with this. So you're waking up, you're in bed, you're still in bed. And this is what he says. You're waking up refreshed to serve God for the new day. Use all of your abilities, serve Him all day. Well, this is what we're down here for. And as I mentioned, the things even that we do for recreation, if it's kosher recreation, not somebody going to a dirty movie or something of that nature,
Yeah.
Of course not. But the things that we do for relaxation, kosher things, that refresh us and give us the ability to study the Torah or relax, to be able to fulfill the action commandments, to help our neighbor, all these things become serving God as well. We have this verse from the book of Lamentations, which is really lamenting about the destruction of the first Holy Temple. You'd never think you get a verse from there that would inspire us to be better Jews and Jewesses. The verse goes like this: Kadoshim labakorim, renewed in the mornings, Rabba emuna secha, great is your faithfulness, O God. So even in the deepest, lowest state of mourning, there was a Holocaust when the first temple was destroyed. The streets had streams of blood. That's how bad it was, incredibly bad. It was a Holocaust. We only speak about the Holocaust from the last century. It wasn't the first time. It certainly should be the last time. So we see this verse from the book of Lamentations giving life and hope to us and gratitude that we wake up in the morning. A person becomes a new creature, a new being, says, and thank with all his heart to the Almighty for this.
We
And
read
while
that
you're
in a
still-
book the other day.
Oh, good.
That every day is like today's the first day of the rest of your life.
Uh-huh.
The past
That's
is
good.
gone. It can't be changed. It needs to be buried.
While you're still in bed. Now, you would think if you're going to thank God, first you should get cleaned up, go to the bathroom first. Maybe get dressed appropriately, because we gave that whole speech about appearing in the proper clothing when you go in public, when you're going to see an official or a person who's giving great respect, such a great professor or doctor.
We're ambassadors of Hashem wherever we go.
Yes, absolutely. It is so important before you even budge out of bed, and he's going to tell you soon, budge out of bed. But even before you budge out of bed, to thank the Almighty immediately as soon as you're conscious enough to say the Moda Ani, which can be said, of course, in English as well. I see you have the article consider. Eventually, hopefully, you'll learn Hebrew too. While you're still in bed, you say, Moda Ani lefanecha. I thank before you. Melech, Chai v'Kayam, the King, who is alive and existing. I'm thanking you. Shechazarta binishmasi, that you returned my soul to me, bechemla, with compassion. Rabba, Yamunasecha, great is your faithfulness. When we go to sleep, we're not passing on staying, we're not planning on staying asleep. We are assuming and hoping that as we give our soul to the Almighty, for Him to take care of while we're sleeping, as they say, a small portion of the soul stays, the lower aspects stay in the body to keep it alive. We're assuming and trusting that the Almighty will give it back to us in the morning. We take that for granted most, unfortunately. We assume, of course, we're going to wake up in the morning. Rather than assume, let's be trusting in the Almighty that with His mercy, He'll give us our soul back. Why shouldn't He give it back? Why shouldn't He give it back, right? He created us. He wants us to serve Him, so why shouldn't He give it back? Because unfortunately, we owe Him a great deal. And we can't measure up often to what He really expected of us. Still, He gives us another chance, another chance, another chance throughout the lifetime that He's already allotted to us. There's a law, it'll take more than 15 minutes, but I think this is really important.
Go ahead. There's
a
no
law in the
limit.
Torah that if you lend someone money, an officer from the rabbinical court can take a pledge. It's called a pledge or a security. If the person didn't pay up, let's say it's their suit or something like suit of clothes or a tool, that you are permitted to have an article taken from the person who owes you money, from the borrower. They didn't pay up, and you can hold that while they don't need it. And you're supposed to return it to them when they do need it. Let's say it's a shovel. The man works in agriculture, he's a farmer, and of course a shovel is of course one of the basic tools. But during the night when the farmer's not working, that an officer from the rabbinical court can take the shovel, give it to you for overnight. This is sort of to remind the borrower not to forget about the loan, that some of your property, and it might be something very important to you, is now being taken away temporarily, but it's still being taken away. Well, it's a pain in the neck, isn't it, to return it every morning to the farmer, especially if farmers get up at morning twilight, something like 4 o'clock in the morning in the summertime, something like that. So that's quite a bother to do that. And one might be resentful, I lent this person money. We're not allowed to charge interest. I gain nothing except a mitzvah, which is great. I gain nothing except a good deed, one of the 630 commandments for lending that money to the person. Didn't pay up. Now, as a reminder, I'm taking away every evening important tool to be like a little reminder over there that you have a responsibility that you have to take care of. And it's a pain in the neck, frankly, to have to keep returning it and taking it, returning it and taking it. So there's a beautiful passage with regard to that commandment brought down by Rashi. This is really beautiful. How much you owe me, the Almighty says. How much you owe me every breath that you take. And how many times have you failed me? And yet, every morning, I return your soul to you. You give it to me for safekeeping. And even though I might want to keep it because you have not been doing what you're supposed to be doing, God forbid, God forbid, God forbid, I return it to you. So this also, I think, enriches greatly our understanding of our appreciation that the Almighty gives our soul back to us. I just want to point out, it's actually in Hebrew, that the word Rabbah is connected with Emunah Secha. Great is your faithfulness. I'm going to start at least, I want to finish this paragraph today because we only have it once a week. So this is another beautiful passage. Yehuda ben Tema Omer. Yehuda ben Tema is one of the great rabbis of the Mishnah. Can you hear me, Kala, by the way? Can you hear me? Kala?
Rabbits and Cats is there, Carla, and
Can
I
anybody
am,
hear me?
I am on mute. Yes,
Okay.
I am connected to the phone.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
And Rabbits and Cats should be there, and Joseph should be there.
May I
Yeah.
greet everyone who's on the conference line. Yehuda ben Tema was one of the great rabbis, great sages of the Mishnah. The Pirkei Avos is one of the books of the Mishnah. So this is what he said: Have oz kenomer, be bold like a leopard, v'kal kaneshin, and light like an eagle. Rutz katzvi, run like a deer, v'gibor kori, and mighty like a lion, lasos ritzon avicha shebeshamayim, to do the will of your Father in heaven. So these four animals. Everything in creation is here for a worthy and important purpose. And we can learn wonderful character traits even from animals. So here we go. He spells it out for us. Oz kenomer. How can a Jew or Jewess be bold like a leopard? That's an animal of prey now, isn't it? A very courageous animal, tough, right? What does it mean? Not to be embarrassed in front of people who are making fun of you while you're trying to do the Almighty's service. You're goody. I didn't know you're so religious. And what are you doing that for? That looks cuckoo altogether. What are you wearing there that looks like somebody forgot to sew up the threads in the corner of your gown? You know, all kinds of mockery from, unfortunately, not only the those who are not Jews, but sometimes even from Jews themselves. They'll make fun of a Torah scholar, God forbid. So Yehuda ben Tema, this great rabbi, says, just absolutely ignore them, be bold like a leopard, and continue doing the right thing. Kal Kanesher. How can you be light like an eagle that flies higher than all the Nesher actually isn't the eagle, but we use that translation. It's a bird that flies all above. It goes much higher than any other bird can go. It's a huge bird. How do you be light like an eagle? Keneged Osa Ayin. This has to do with controlling your eyes. Be fast, be quick. To do what? This means close your eyes quickly if there's something before you that you shouldn't be looking at. Sometimes you don't do it on purpose. Sometimes it's just that flashes in front of you, be it on a screen today, which is a challenge, be it in the street, be it in the store, whatever it may happen to be. If there's something there that you should not be looking at, to quickly close your eyes. The eye sees and the heart desires. Then the body finishes, God forbid, the sin. So you got to be kal kanesha. Shut yourself off from it really quick. Get it off your screen. Not only the screen of the computer or TV, but the screen of your mind's eye.
Mm-hmm.
Get it off quick. But so far we have to be courageous. Do not be embarrassed by those who make fun of you, like the Amir, the old leopard. Doesn't let anything deter it. Be light like the eagle. Shut your eyes quick. Here's the next one. Rutz katzvi, run like a deer. First to the feet, of course. And your feet should run for good things, not for wrong things. Given the opportunity to do a mitzvah, a good deed, going to shul, run to go to shul. I got a compliment for that once. I used to jog to shul. So there's a rabbi says, you're the only rabbi, Rabbi Sheikh, you're the only rabbi who fulfills this, that you run to shul.
Uh-huh.
To run, to go and see something you shouldn't, run to a meeting where people are speaking slander, evil talk, tempting things, a party that really is not conducive to proper behavior. People are carrying on. Don't run to go to that. On the contrary, run away from it. And the last one is Gibor Kari, be mighty like a lion. This refers to the heart. Because real might in serving God isn't how many hundreds of pounds you can pick up. It's in the heart. Strengthen your heart with God's service and overcome the evil inclination. Win over it like a great soldier, a great warrior is able to beat his opponent. That's
all
four
righteousness can
animals.
defeat evil.
Okay, Reverend Sinisk is going to take over. And as you see, these are general directions for how to get up, what to say to God when you get up. And the person is still in bed, and we're going to have to continue next week when they'll finally get out of bed. Okay.
May I have the phone?
Still,
Okay. So, Carla, were you able to dig out the book on Shabbos?
Yes, actually, I did get the whole set today.
Oh, wow. Amazing, amazing.
Yes.
So, it has...
And, in the store, it was actually 20% off.
Oh, good. That also helps. Okay, so
Yes.
tell me, do you have, does any of them talk about kosher laws? Or is that Shabbos and...
I have, well, the one I have is the Shabbos Home.
Uh-huh.
I have Shabbos, Volume 1, Volume 2. I have the Radiance of Shabbos, the Sanctity of Shabbos, the Shabbos Kitchen, Muktzah.
Yeah, muktzah. Remember I was telling you a fence around the Torah is muktzah. In other words, if there's something like a pencil that you cannot write on Shabbos, so the pencil itself is what's called muktzah. And muktzah means that they call it a fence around the Torah, because if you can't use it on Shabbos, then it shouldn't be allowed to even touch it. And that way you avoid, God forbid, by accident making a mistake. That's what all the muktzah is about. But let's start with, do they have volume numbers?
Yeah, and then I have the R of Shabbos.
So let's start with, is volume 1 you have? If they're numbered?
Yeah, I think I went over with you a little bit last time, but it was just with the title. We can
Okay.
go over that.
So take the first volume, if it has a volume 1, and let's go to, you want to read me the table of contents. That way we don't go reading. And that's stuff that you can just be explained in a few minutes, you know? But to go to the things that are most important.
I just wanted to say thank you to your husband about the law. So it was really beautiful.
Yeah, that was very nice. He's gone off, I don't know where. I think the bathroom, but
and I have questions, but I think maybe another time that'll be good.
A kosher what?
No, I said I had maybe a little bit of question.
For him.
Yeah.
All right. What we'll do? Hold on to them. We'll start until he comes out, and when he comes out, I'll call him back over. So read me table of contents, honey.
Okay. First chapter is writing.
Is what?
And I'm writing.
Oh, writing.
Do you want me to?
No, jump over that.
Do you want me to go through something here? I mean, it's a lot, but
no, you're gonna read that stuff like that one. You can read to yourself when you have time. But I'm gonna hit on some highlights for the class. So what is the second chapter?
It's activities are prohibited because they might lead to writing.
All right, no. Next. I just explained that in a 2 minute.
Shabbos earnings.
Earnings?
Shabbos for earnings.
So that must be talking about not working on Shabbos. Next. We know we don't work on Shabbos. We don't need explanation. But you can read it. There's details in the laws and stuff that you can pick up. But if it gets boring, just go fast.
And then there's about erasing.
Yeah, no, that's all part of writing. If you're not going to write, you're not going to erase. You know that, right?
And then yes, and then the other one is activities prohibited because they might lead to erasing.
Yeah, no, keep going. You know what? Let me just go ahead and do a few pointers.
Sure. I went over this book just like I can do it. And
what we'll do is when we're not in class, you'll read me Husby, Carla had some questions for you. Here he is. All right. What we'll do is when we're not in class, we'll read the table of contents and we'll mark the things we're going to use for class. In the meantime, my husband's going to answer your questions, and then I'm going to go on to what I'm going to teach today. Hold on.
Yes. Hello?
I had a question in regards to the phone, and we're definitely different to the shower that I was talking back every day. But I wanted to know how what are so new. I don't know if you.
Oh, no, it says it. Wait, yeah.
Where'd you go?
Well, she's there. She's fine. And she's waiting for me. I just can't deal with anything when I'm running and teaching. I just can't deal with any appliances.
You don't have to.
I just can't.
Just talk. You don't have to deal with anything else. But talk loud enough. That's it.
Okay. This is one of the 613 commandments to place the scroll, which is parchment. It has the first 2 paragraphs of the Shema, which you have in your siddur, in which we declare the unity of the Almighty, and we declare the fact that we take upon ourselves the commandments that He told us to fulfill. This is placed in every doorway, except for the bathroom, because that would be disrespectful. And on the box of the scroll is written one of the names of God, Shin Daled Yud, which means that God is Almighty, and He guards the house, He guards yourself, He guards your property, even if you leave the house. It's a very powerful commandment. And that wherever you turn, wherever you go, you see the Almighty's presence when you see that scroll. You remember the Almighty. It's one of the special reminder commandments that we have. There's several reminder commandments. And that is the function in the home. It reminds you wherever you turn that the Almighty is always there, like we were just studying in the Code of Jewish Law when a person is even still in bed. But it also guards the home, guards the people of the home, guards their property, even when they leave the home. We've seen many examples of this occur in which the house was broken into. Thieves were discouraged from taking anything. Nothing was damaged and nothing was lost. And they had their proper mezuzahs on the door. Also, it guards one's health, the health of one's children as well. There are many incredible stories about the Lubavitcher Rebbe when people said such and such is going wrong in the house. Child became suddenly ill. One of the parents, for instance, suddenly had a terrible problem or sickness. Something continually goes wrong, no matter what they try. The Rebbe would say, first off, check your mezuzahs, check the scrolls. You can't check them yourself. You have to send Rabbi Zerkin to check them. As a matter of fact, he's a scribe. He knows how to write the Torah scroll,
Wow.
to fill in the mezuzah. He's a very, very, I'm so glad that he's your rabbi. That's what I wanted actually all along, Carla. I know I'm speaking to the rest of the group too, but this information is really pertinent to everyone. See, check your mezuzahs. Very often, on the first try, they would find a letter missing, a letter broken. And upon having the mezuzah replaced, the problem ceased to exist. Once the problem persisted and persisted and persisted. So we checked them, and the Rebbe kept saying, check it again, check it again.
Well,
what's the explanation? There was a doorway that was kept shut all the time, and they didn't bother to look and check it. All the doorways have to have a proper mezuzah, I say, except for the bathroom. And this door is always kept locked and closed. They never used it, never opened it.
Well,
and therefore they forgot to check it. And they did, the problem ceased. So it's a very wonderful commandment, a guarding commandment, a reminding commandment. Okay, back to Rebbe Sinisky.
are we at to Carla?
My question was about the soul. Also in regards to whether the soul goes after receiving.
Where does the soul go? What?
Right. It goes to a higher.
Where does the soul go when we're sleeping?
Oh, when you're sleeping.
When you're sleeping. Is that what your question was about, the soul of the scroll?
It was about the soul, but the scroll.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
Hashem wanted you to hear that.
Yes, God wanted you to hear.
Not a leaf falls from a tree without
understand,
God's permission.
Okay. All right. The soul is spiritual. So it doesn't have to take a spaceship to go up into the sky, into the stratosphere, to the atmosphere, go beyond Mars, go beyond Pluto, whatever. It doesn't have to do that. It can, in space and in place, it can stay right here because God is down here. When it means it goes up to the Almighty, means it becomes closer to the Almighty Himself. And it's not blocked by the physical body. It's not blocked by the buildings. It is able to experience being close to God, who is right down here as well. So we use the expression up, it goes up to be in a holier realm. If you listen to the Sunday classes, I talk about the apartment building only as an example of the fact that there are spiritual worlds right along with this physical world that we're in, and that when a person is keeping the Torah, they're actually bringing down wonderful godly light from these upper floors right down to the basement where we live. So when we go to sleep, the soul does the opposite. The soul goes back up the elevator and becomes very close to God. It's not in feet, it's not miles, it's not a spaceship. It's right here. But down here, our bodies cover our soul and make it much less aware of the presence of God. That's why we're not. If we would realize that God is right here all the time. Remember, we're talking in the Code of Jewish Laws. It actually all goes along with that lesson. If we realize God can watch us and sees us even when we're lying in bed to go to sleep, actually would have a very different posture. That's for sure.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
You know, I always I shared with my husband when he first got together with me that I used to once in a while have to take melatonin to sleep and whatever. And then I laid down one day and I said, Almighty God, please. And at that time I said, please send me the spiritual bus to pick up my soul and bring it to come and visit you while my body lays here and restores and repairs and renews cells and whatever, that I have time to come and see you. As soon as I did that, I went to sleep right away and stayed sleeping all night. And now I changed it. I don't say send me the bus anymore. No, I say, please, Almighty Father, creator of this world, send me the spiritual limousine to come and visit you. And I get to sleep even faster. But he's talking about that, and it's bringing to my mind how I started to, I don't even verbalize it. I just think it in my mind, and I go right to sleep. It's amazing. So I don't know if that'll help anybody who needs a little quicker to get to sleep, but it works for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
The more we learn on Sunday actually will help us have a better understanding of this concept of the soul leaving the body, not completely, but what does it mean leaving? It's not going to the next room, the next city. It's right there. It's just it's not operating the body. It's being close and speaking with the Almighty. Okay, we'll hope to learn more about that. Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome.
So let's see. First of all, do you have any questions about any of the laws on Shabbos?
I will know. I will have more questions.
If you are not so tired, right? Okay.
I know. I think if I would have studied a little bit more, but I can always have questions in regards to Shabbos, especially for this weekend. I know that Hannah and Masha are going to come down to help me light the candles.
That's great.
And I'm gonna go to them upstairs also and help them light the candles. Yeah, I think it's gonna be good.
Excellent. So, what I do, and I highly recommend, is to have some paper plates for your kitchen, so that, first of all, save you a lot of time in washing, but also they're always parved. They're 100% clean and free of anybody's milk or meat or whatever. And as long as we know the basic laws that we need to wait. Most people, the majority, wait 6 hours after meat to then consume anything of milk. We're not talking about a glass of milk. We're talking about milk, cheese, cream cheese, anything that would have milk in it. So when we're going to do that, I use a lot of times around here paper plates, because we eat whatever and it goes in the garbage. And like I said, meat, we use regular metal utensils, but dairy or parve, we can use plastic. So that also makes things quicker around here. And as I can see, you're a very busy person too. So doing things quickly is good. But also, I wanted you to know, and I think I didn't tell you yet, when you're going to buy, if you're going to buy plates and cups and whatever for your kitchen, if you buy clear, transparent glass, it doesn't pick up an identity because it's not absorbent. That doesn't mean you use your meat and milk and whatever all together, no. But if you need to have them, even for Passover and whatever, you have to change the sink and the sponge and da-da-da-da-da. But clear glass is not absorbent, so it doesn't take on an identity, if you know what I mean. So you can have a whole set of clear glass in a cabinet that's considered milchik, and then a whole set. But if you're going to have clear glass for both, then you need to have stickers on the bottom of the meat ones at least. So you know if you see a sticker, you know it's the ones you use for meat. Yeah? But it'll help you get started because since clear glass doesn't have an identity, you have less chance of making mistakes.
Oh. Okay.
Until you get the hang of it all. If you know what I mean.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and clear glass, drinking glasses also works best. Nowadays they sell whole sets of that stuff, so makes it easier. And I know Walmart carries it. Going on, so you want to buy a set of forks, knives, and spoons and whatever for the meat, and a set for the dairy, and you want them in different drawers. You don't want to put them together, for sure not. Okay? And uh, let me see, I'm trying to think of uh, basically coffee, as long as you don't put any milk in the coffee maker and it just stays par of, black coffee that comes down, you shouldn't have a problem with the meat and milk from the coffee maker. When the coffee goes into the cup, so then it should be a dairy cup if you put milk or cream. But if you keep the coffee pot in its maker parv, then you won't have to have separate ones for each. If you understand what I'm saying. Parv meaning
Yes, thank you.
Parv meaning no identity, not milk or meat. So what you have to really keep separate is the meat and the milk. That they cannot,
Okay.
like I say, meat is a stranger in my kitchen. and using crock pots also, and you label it, is much easier than fiddling around with a bunch of pots and pans and all this. But you can't use only a crock pot. But like what I do is I have a meat where I put a roast in it on the stove, and then when I finish cooking and everything, I can slide it into the crock pot. But I also have a huge crock pot that the pot will fit inside the crock pot with boiling water. So then it's like a blech instead of, so you can serve out of the pot because the pot is not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wanted to know if you can just wait for a couple minutes. I'm sorry, I gotta do some.
Okay.
I gotta go. I think it's really important.
Well, we're going to finish soon anyway, no? We're almost, what time did we start? Do you remember?
Yes. It's already 15 minutes.
5:00? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow. All right. So this is where we end because we said we weren't going to do more than an hour. So we have 8 minutes to an hour. I just,
okay.
yeah.
I just have to use the bathroom.
We know we don't carry on Shabbos, correct?
Yes.
So they make what they call Shabbos belts, that if you want to go to shul, there's a belt that you can make. I'm sure both your Shabbos hosts can teach you about a Shabbos belt. Ask about it if you don't know. And
Great.
yeah. But there's an Eruv over there, no?
There's a lot of right?
An Eruv means that rabbis do something to make this, it's sectioned off. Certain sections of where people live are sectioned off, and therefore it's called an eruv. And a person can use a stroller or carry a bag or carry something from house to house within the eruv. But if the person, like in Crown Heights, they don't have an eruv anywhere in Crown Heights. So when I lived in Crown Heights, I couldn't carry my sitter to the shul on Shabbos. I used to have to have memorized how to do the Shmoni Esrei in Hebrew, memorized, because I used to read transliteration. So if there's no eruv, there's nothing a person could carry except to have a Shabbos belt so that they have the key to open their house. But
Oh, okay.
if they have an eruv, which ask your Shabbos hosts, Nachman and Chana, if there's an eruv there. I think my husband told me there was. So if there is, and it's within the shul you go to with Rabbi Zirkin, then you could carry a siddur or whatever with you because of the eruv. You understand what I'm telling you?
Yeah.
Okay. So the eruv is a bunch of prayers, and rabbis like roping off and measuring up the areas within the community that they say, okay, there's an eruv from here to here, and that's it. The only place.
And how do you spell that? I'm sorry. The word?
I imagine it would be eruv. I would think. Husby!
Okay.
1 second, we're going to get a confirmation on that one.
Sure. Thanks.
She's asking me how to spell eruv. You know, if you have an eruv, you can
Yes.
carry
Yeah.
on Shabbos.
Yeah, under certain adjustments and requirements, one is able to carry in an area
How do you
that's
spell
normally not
eruv?
private domain. So the way they usually spell it is eruv, and the word eruv is actually a mixture of areas, or a mixture of domains, makes it permissible to carry within that area. Baltimore has this. You're wondering where it is. That by the use of telephone poles and various types of cables, it is possible to construct a what you call an eruv, which is permissible to carry on certain streets, quite a few streets. There's quite a large area that's included there. And the laws of the area are rather complex, etc. One of the simplest ways to construct it is to have a pole and then a string that is tied not to the pole itself, but you put a nail in the pole and put the string on top. You have a series of poles that are about 40 inches and they surround the area where you cannot carry normally. So here it's done with telephone poles uh, which are in an enclosed, an enclosed area of Baltimore where the Jewish community largely resides. And it's permissible to carry that. Now, what people are supposed to do, I'm just trying to give you a little introduction to this, which might seem strange. What people are supposed to do on Friday is to call a certain number, a hotline number, to make sure that the area, that the parts of what I've just discussed is using telephone poles and cables is intact. Why it works and how it works is for another discussion. But that's what an eruv is. ERUV is how they usually spell it. Okay, back to the representatives.
And there's another issue that uses the same word eruv, but it's called eruv tachshilin. And that is that when you have to cook on a Yom Tov, which is like a Shabbos, that supposedly everybody in the neighborhood does that prayer in order to be able to cook and vary the temperatures on the stoves and whatever. You can't turn the stove on and off, but you can raise the temperature or lower it. So that's called an eruv tashilin. It's different than the eruv, which sections off areas of the community in order to be able to carry on the Shabbos. On Yom Tov, part of that eruv tashilin is carrying as well. If there wouldn't be an eruv.
Cooking. The eruv tashilin is only for cooking.
Yeah, it's for
The
cooking.
holiday comes out on Friday.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to leave it there. Any more questions, comments, good sayings? Anybody wants to say anything? They're welcome to speak up. Going once, going twice, sold to the man in the corner. Okay, so It's been a pleasure and a blessing to study Torah with you. And I hope you'll come back. The next class will be at 12 noon Baltimore time on Sunday for my husband's class and then mine. Everything gets recorded on the YouTube Live as well. We'll have Zoom and we'll have the phone. Everything will be operating. Bezrat Hashem, God willing. And then we'll have Sunday night. Hopefully not too late, like around 8 o'clock Baltimore time, we'll have the Pirkei Avos class. So, I wish you all a wonderful Shabbos, and may life treat you with only goodness, happiness, joy. May all your prayers get answered, as we say in Hebrew, Akshav, which means now. And we love you all. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Thanks for coming in, YouTubers, and we'll be back on Sunday, God willing, at noon. Have a wonderful Shabbos.